Hello, welcome. Thanksgiving Eve, secretly one of the best days of the year, one of my favorite days of the year. And to commemorate the occasion, we will come to you today, live here in the Tier 4 studio, festive, in the holiday mood. Got plenty of time for you. I don't know, 5, 15, 20 minutes. Hell, we did 30 minutes last week. Your questions, my answers regarding West Virginia football, West Virginia basketball, sides, desserts, stuffing. I don't know. It's all up to you. Let it roll if you're watching. Thanks for one. Throw me a question at the bottom of the screen there. I have a couple lined up here from our message board over at earsports.com. But we're all feeling good today, right? Hump day. Maybe you're off Friday. Hopefully you're off tomorrow. Football on the television, basketball on the television. Exciting time of year. That convergence of food and family that is finally palatable. Also the convergence of basketball and football that's also finally palatable too, right? Some pretty mean non-conference action, tournaments and invitationals in basketball. Some pretty appealing late season football with ramifications for playoffs and conference championships. Hopefully you got some double A's in your remote control and maybe in your body too. You don't have too much of that turkey nap-inducing spell. Maybe you do. I don't know. Be good for you. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes here, let everybody get their seats. That's fine. Seems to be popular, though, to start every one of our Q&As with a little bit about the bowl conversation. I've done some talking to people, and I'm extremely hesitant to talk to people who are involved in bowls because they love everybody. They have to love everybody. They have to sell tickets. But it seems the consensus, as you might imagine, West Virginia is going to be the other team now, barring a win Saturday. Yet, even if West Virginia wins, the difference between 8-4 and 7-5, and not having Will Grier, or at least not being able to guarantee you have Will Grier, not that significant. So probably going to be either the other team in a bowl game, or just filling out a spot the Big 12 has to fill out. Keep your eyes on really just 3 games: Liberty Bowl, Cactus Bowl, the Heart of Dallas Bowl, with one qualifier. The Big 12 has 7 spots. The Big 12 has 7 bowl-eligible teams right now. Texas Tech plays at Texas. Texas already bowl eligible. Is Texas back? I don't know. Maybe they think they are. If Texas Tech wins that one, they're 6-6. Now you have 8 bowl eligible teams and 7 spots. Somebody from the Big 12 is going to have to go somewhere, not in the Big 12's bowl roster. Could it be West Virginia? I don't know. I don't know that far down the road, but it does seem that if you're going to have a matchup, it's going to be something weird like perhaps Kentucky against West Virginia and the manufactured Border Bowl and the Liberty Bowl, or more likely you're going to have West Virginia fill out a bowl slot, either be the other team for an SEC, Pac-12, or whomever would be on the other side, just kind of filling in and being the opponent there because the arrangement will be more about the other team, the other conference, or the Big 12 sends West Virginia somewhere because the Big 12 kind of has to send West Virginia somewhere. Will Grier play? Say that, huh? Will Grier play in the bowl game? Don't know. My hunch is no. Again, want to and have to are 2 different things, and that doesn't even take into account whether or not his finger is healed. Middle finger is pretty important. You ever grip the football, you know. Top finger you usually hold above the seams. Middle finger you kind of hold on the seam. That's your pressure point, release point, and you really don't get to wrap that middle finger in protective tape or protective bracing, so it's got to be fully healed, fully functional. So that's a long way down the road. And let's hit the road right now. I'll start with some questions. Got a few lined up for you, and I will breeze through what I have already submitted here. Can you realistically envision this team playing 4 solid quarters on all 3 sides of the ball? And if we do, will it be enough? If you do, sure, it can be enough. I don't know why you can't win if Chris Chugunov plays 4 great quarters and the defense doesn't get spun around and give up big plays. If everything works well for 4 quarters, well, that's what it takes to beat Oklahoma. Certainly at Oklahoma. But if it happens, why can't you win? Can they? Hard to say yes. They haven't played 2 full quarters in succession lately, and certainly there's enough reason to doubt whether or not that happens again. And you better be in the game at the half against Oklahoma. They're up about 100 in second half scoring this year. I think it's plus 94. West Virginia is minus 10, I believe, in second half scoring. Those are 2 pretty hard to believe numbers that are nevertheless indicative, and probably an answer to your question right there, WV Rugger. Next question. WV got him outside of the season of 2007, which has been canceled forever. I don't know if I remember that season. Did it actually happen? Can you remember a season where things deflated so much with one game? It feels weird that things could deflate on a 7-3 at the time season, but by the nature of Greer's injury and the freakishness of it, it seems to have just taken the wind out of everyone. Well, if 2007 didn't happen, I'll probably go with one more recent than that. I think when Ford Childress tore his pec and they got blown out in 2013, I think it was 37-0 at Maryland. That was the end of that season, and that quickly and convincingly went to 4-8. That was a pretty big one there. I think we'll never know with Ford Childress, but he had just had a huge game against Georgia State. He was the guy they recruited for over a year. He looked the part, and he let it rip, and it ripped. Early in that Maryland game, he played the whole game. It didn't work out well, obviously, but that was never the same. I think similarly, when Clint Trickett got his bell rung against, well, many times, but I think probably in the TCU game. I know that was late in the season, but so was the Will Grier injury. That team was on to something. They finished 7-5, but I think had some good things going for them that maybe you rescue if maybe you finish with 8 wins in the regular season instead of 7, because Kansas State might have been a little easier to defeat with a trick at a quarterback. Nothing against Skyler Howard, but who knows? That game was going in the good direction, and then Clint gets hurt, and it's never the same after that. Third question, Hartman, BL. Any news on the status of Fern's recovery and rehab? He's likely the projected starter at middle linebacker in 2018. I haven't heard anything, which is probably good. You kind of hear bad things before you hear good things in recovery. It's a long process, and you have a pretty severe tear like that. I mean, that was a traumatic injury, not like traumatic, sad. People are crying and wondering if we'll ever play again. But there's a lot of trauma to the shoulder joint when it's severely dislocated or severely separated like that. A lot of machinations up there in your shoulder, and it takes everything going right to get it right again. So slow and steady, I would guess. I do see him around campus all the time, and he is always in a brace. So I can vouch for the integrity of his comeback, that he's always braced. He always has that pad to keep it at an angle. Book bag is always in the other shoulder, so he's not cheating the recovery. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Also, are we sure he's the middle linebacker? I'm not going to go that far. We'll see. I think he would be a contender, but we'll see about that one. Also, would you play David Long in middle linebacker? Just a question for you. WV9094, if Grier decides to not return, who emerges from spring ball as our number 1 quarterback, Jack or Chugs? It's great that West Virginia has a debate between Chugs and Jack, isn't it? I don't know who that would be right now. It really would depend on what would happen in the next month. If Chris Chugunov makes the most out of this, 3 practices here, and then let's say between 8 and 12 practices before the bowl, well, that's like a whole extra spring. And by the time that you get to spring football, he could be firmly entrenched if indeed Will Grier goes pro. I'm not saying he would start as a number 1, but he'd have a heck of an advantage over Jack being Jack Allison. I've heard that Chugunov has been great in practice. This is before even the injury. I think we've even talked about this before. I've been asked who's the starter next year, Allison or Israel. Israel, what? And I kept saying, what about Chugunov? Because he's been very good. He knows the offense. He doesn't have anything to apologize for with his arm. I think if you look at the second half of Saturday's game, he did pretty good. If you want to look at the second half of Saturday's game, come back Friday at our website, breaking down what Chugunov did good. Actually had some good moments, some bad moments too, but things you can iron out with some experience. And I think the fact that he's further ahead there, he doesn't have to learn what Allison has to learn. That might be advantageous to him. I wouldn't sell the farm on Grier going pro right yet now. Finally here, another Hartman question. Any word on how Simmons, Haskins, and Allison are performing during their scout team roles? Yes, Allison has a big arm, does not move very well. He's not Grier, but he has a rocket for an arm, and just looks the part. Again, you're talking, I think he's 6'5", right? He's going to be a lot like that Brandon Weeden or that Texas Tech quarterback that Holgorsen used to recruit and like. That, though, sacrifices the mobility, which is, I don't know, maybe not a concern or an issue, but it's certainly different than what West Virginia has featured in the past couple of years. They like to be able to move the pocket, like to be able to get the quarterback out there. Will Grier is not, well, he's not a statue, but he's not Skyler Howard. And look at just how the subtle stuff he does with his legs, goal line notwithstanding. how that helps him, in the passing game, and how that helps the offensive receivers get open. Just being able to put the defensive backs in conflict and make them think. It's one shift of the eye, it's one slow step, and that's all a receiver needs sometimes, to get behind or get between defenders. And sometimes a running quarterback can do that for you. Simmons seems like he is a day one starter. I've heard that he fits very well into the Karan White spot. So you're looking next year at Sims on one side, Simmons on the other, Sills and Sills on offense, and then Stills and Stills on defense. I'm going to screw this up for the foreseeable future, but Simmons and Sims line up as your outside receivers. Sills, should he come back, and I don't know why he wouldn't come back, would be an inside guy. Jennings would be an inside guy, and you really kind of march forward with who you've had, which is good. And Haskins is the one that people are kind of excited about. I'll say this, though. I just keep hearing about how Trayvon Wesco has practiced pretty well. He gets in the field more now. They put him in true tight end spots. They put him in 11 personnel. He played, more snaps against Texas than he had. So that's encouraging, I guess, because at least he's getting on the field, if he is indeed doing good things in practice. Why he just has one career catch, I don't know. But boy, you watch him before games running and catching and one-handing balls, and he looks like he can play. I think the fun part of that is if you can put him and Haskins together, if you can just have Haskins do enough, Haskins being the tight end transfer from Miami, if you can have him do enough where you're compelled to have a tight end on the field more often, well, then maybe you get another athletic person, big person like Wesco out in the field, and he can do that too. I'm just surprised that he's not more of a red zone target. Not that West Virginia needs a ton of help in the red zone, been very effective there in their touchdown percentage and all their visits, but I'm just surprised that somebody who can jump and provide a catching radius like he can hasn't been used more often. Questions now from the viewers here. Brandon McKinney, next commitment, stay tuned. I think you'll probably see one maybe before we're done, but in the not too distant future. If you've been following online, not even like behind the VIP wall, just on social media, you probably got a good hint about this one. It could be a kick in recruiting. Woodrow Matheny asks, happy Thanksgiving, Mike. Back at you, Woodrow. I'm super thankful for the great coverage you do for all of us. Oh, thanks, me too. Donald Black, what bowl game will we most likely get? I'm going to say the Liberty Bowl, and then the Heart of Dallas Bowl, and then the Cactus Bowl. That would be my order. I just think you can manufacture a matchup with West Virginia against an SEC team, maybe Kentucky, in the Liberty Bowl. I do think that a team like, let's say, Iowa State, that can take care of the Cactus Bowl, which isn't really close to anybody out in Phoenix, but you can get Iowa State to travel out there because their fans are fanatical and they have a reason to be celebrating this year, so why not do it all the way out there? Heart of Dallas, it could just be, I don't think it's going to happen because Texas Tech is likely going to be around and it's easy to get people from Lubbock to Dallas. By the way, Lubbock is like 6 hours from Dallas. Do you know what else is 6 hours from Dallas? Mississippi. It's amazing how far away Lubbock is from Dallas when you think about it. But it's in Texas. Texas Bowls love to have Texas schools, so I think that one probably takes care of that. If indeed Texas Tech is available, but even if they're not, the 7th team still likely ends up in that game. Is 6-6 Kansas State going to be there? But if Kansas State beats Iowa State, that's 2 really good wins in a row. That could elevate them. So Dallas is certainly not out of the question. That's December 26th. Fortunately, I have family in Dallas, so Christmas on the road wouldn't be too bad there. Mickey Davis, do we rely on the run game more this weekend with Chugs being the starter? I think you rely on the run game more because Mike Stoops is the defensive coordinator, and he's been there when Justin Crawford and Tavon Austin have run for more than 300 yards. Dana Holgorsen knows a way to gash this defensive scheme. It's happened. I think Holgorsen will be actively involved in the game plan this week, not only because of Stoops or Chris Jugganoff, but because of the things that he said following last week's game. I don't know if this is a must-win. It's not a must-win, but I think there's a way that you could massage some of the relationships or some of the functions on the team that projects for the future and how some of these coaching responsibilities and interactions function in the future. So I think you rely on the run more because it's Oklahoma. West Virginia, including Crawford, has beat this team up before. Keep an eye on the offensive line. Now, I've heard some spooky tales about some health up front and what availability or to what degree of availability the Mountaineers will enjoy there. Gary Fields, is the basketball game tonight on TV? No. Game is tomorrow. ESPN, I believe, 7 p.m. Is that right? Against Marist. Marist is winless. West Virginia 3-1. Keep an eye on the Nebraska UCF game. Nebraska stinks. UCF is legitimately good. They would be the preseason pick in a lot of those Group of 5 conferences. They just happen to be behind Wichita State and Cincinnati. That's your second place and first place teams in the preseason American poll. Believe it or not, Wichita State is in the American. It's hard for me to believe too, but the Shockers and the Bearcats, two very good teams, but UCF pretty good too. Has a preseason first team all-conference player, has a 7'6" guy named Taco Fall. Not a joke. That's true. Fun team, well coached, returns 3 starters, I think 5 of the top 8 from last year, and went to the semifinal of the NIT, so they're lined up to have a good season. Robbie Cyrus, will he return for next year? Taco? Who? Greer? I don't know. I'll say this. I don't think that he needs the bowl to showcase anything. There's nothing a 13th game is going to prove to scouts or concerned scouts with that the first 10 1/4 games has not already done for him. I don't think the fact that he's hurt is what makes him say he has unfinished business and he has to come back, so I would adjust my thinking accordingly. It's up to you if you do or you don't. I do think there's something to be said about, boy, this game is frightening, and something as simple as a 1-yard run can put you at risk. Probably goes without saying that should he come back, he probably invests in a pretty hefty insurance policy. Normal. Carl Joseph had one that helped him out, and he still made it in the first round of the draft. But I really think that one play doesn't affect the decision one way or the other. Again, what was he going to accomplish for a 7-5 team or an 8-4 team in a bowl game that he hadn't already accomplished? The questions are the questions about him. The answers are the answers. I do think the upside for him coming back is significant. You know, a summer doing camps and showcases and working out and just getting better. He hasn't really had a continuous offseason in quite some time. Probably his junior to senior years of high school, maybe, because even his senior to high school to freshman year of football at Florida, different because he was new and he was, going to be a redshirt and he wasn't really involved in all of it. Redshirt freshman, again, he was a redshirt freshman, then he was playing as a redshirt freshman after redshirting as a true freshman. A lot of these tongue twisters today, and those are very different things. And then obviously he was gone, sitting out, didn't play for almost 22 months. He hasn't had back-to-back seasons in the same place, the same system in quite some time. He could really benefit from that, or he could kind of keep the tumult in place and go from being injured after his first college season to being a rookie in the NFL. There are going to be a lot of teams that draft or quarterbacks highly and perhaps higher than normal because of the competition for just a few probably elite level NFL talent quarterbacks here. And it all depends on Greer's perspective. Does he think he's a first round guy? Does he think he's a second to fourth round guy? Who knows? Can't really speak for that when you talk to him about football in the present, not football in the future. Finally here, Brandon McKinney asks, I hope Greer comes back next season. Could be something special. He could. You're looking at a lot of quarterback changeover. Should he stay? Mayfield and Rudolph and Shimanek and a lot of these elite passers in the Big 12 going to be gone. Generational talents really at Oklahoma and Oklahoma State that have lifted that team up to great heights the past couple of years, gone. I do think Texas has something with Sam Ehlinger. Texas, we always like to make that joke, is Texas back? I think you can see a reason to be excited about them next year. Probably your preseason pick. But I think you could look at Greer, Sills, Jennings, Sims, Haskins, Simmons, and by the way, a lot of returning talent on defense. None of this replace 8 starter stuff on defense, and make a case that West Virginia could be, in the conversation, be a favorite in the Big 12 season. That is it for this time. Quickly before I go, someone flattered me here, and I want to take a second too. We don't do a lot of this personal stuff here, right? It's football, basketball, sports. Stick to sports is what I'm told quite often online. Hey, job transition for me, it's hard sometimes, but it's been fun. I've enjoyed the questions and the answers and all the other interactions we have on Twitter, on the message boards, in email, what have you. You say thanks to me. I say thanks to you. It's a lot easier when it's fun. It's a lot more fun with people who care and are invested. So, hey, you all ask me all these questions. I ask you one question. Have fun. Be safe for Thanksgiving. No politics. Try to bring it back to a time where everybody was happy about where they are and who they're with. That's what we probably should focus on and be thankful at least for a respite from some of the ugliness that we seem to have on a day-to-day basis. That's it for this time. I will see you next time. For Mike Casazza, No, for 24/7 Sports, I'm Mike Casazza.